what are we? Letter D here. So I want this thing, we're trying to get x alone, x equals 0. That finds us our x-intercepts or our roots or our zeros. It also just solves questions. The only way to solve an x squared and an x is to get everything onto one side, make it equal to 0. And then we typically would factor that. That was what we did previously. We could do it by completing the square, and now we're doing the third way, which is using this formula. So I want to get it equal to 0, so I'm going to subtract the 1. Now I can't combine these, so we'll leave them separated for now. There are no like terms. Now if you had to complete the square on this, I think I've said this a number of times, if you had to take 5 and to cut that in half, you get 2.5. And you want to divide that by 3. And so you would have to go, 3 into 2.5. Like, it would just be a mess. So let's not do any of that. Instead, what we're going to do is use this formula. So my A is a positive 3, my B is a positive 5, and my C is a negative 1. So my formula starts with a negative sign, and then B is 5, plus or minus B squared, which is 5 squared. I don't need a bracket because it's not a negative. 4 times A is 3, times C, which is negative 1. All over 2 times A is 3. So what do I have here? I have a negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times negative 1 is negative 12. And so you can see I've got 2 negative symbols here, which is why I have 2 negative symbols here, and that will become a positive. All over 6. Negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 plus 12, which would be 37, over 6. Now the square root of 37, normally if we get a number like square root of 32, you can split 32 up into like 8 times 4 and 4 times 2, and that can go 2 times 2, and then that can go 2, that become a 2. And you're looking for pairs, there's a pair of 2s and a pair of 2s, so 2 and 2 is 4 on the outside, and the leftover, which is that, on the inside. That's how we're going to have to reduce it. Now I don't have that. I have a 37. And so I'm looking for what 2 numbers multiply to 37. And 37 is a prime number. There are none. So I can't do anything with it, meaning this is it. I can't do that. It's not a nice number that square root of 36. Okay, that would have got me a 6. Then I can go negative 5 plus 6 and negative 5 minus 6, but I can't actually do that. So you do have 2 answers. You have negative 5 plus the square root of 37 all over 6. That is negative 5 plus square root of 37. But then we have negative 5 minus square root of 37. So negative 5 minus the square root of 37 all over 6. So those are your 2 answers right there. And because we don't have a calculator, we're not going to put them in a calculator and find a decimal. We'll just leave them like that. It is written a little bit neater on my answer key. Let's continue on here. What are here? Everything is already on one side, so that's good. My A value is 2, my B value is a positive 4, and my C value is a positive 1. Okay, they're all positives. So x equals negative symbol, then b. b is 4, plus or minus b squared, which is 4 squared, minus 4 times a times c. So 2 and then a 1. All over 2 times a. 2 times 2. Okay. So I've got negative 4 plus or minus 4 squared is 16 minus 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 1 is 8. So that is just, okay, good. And then 2 over 2 is 4. So I have negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 8 all over 4. All right. Now square root of 8, that can be split up to 2 times 4. And 4 can be split up to 2 times 2, and I can carry this 2 down. So we did this in grade 9 and grade 10. I can't remember one of those. And I can take a pair of 2's out, so I'll take that out, and I'm left over with just a 2 on the inside. So your leftovers go on the inside, and your pairs go on the outside. So I have a pair of 2's. I don't write 2 times 2, I just one pair. So I wrote a 2. So I guess what I have is I have negative 4 plus or minus. Instead of writing a square root of 8 here, I can now write 2 root 2 all over 4. And this is really important because all of your outside numbers, so not the inside of the square root, but because all of your outsides can be divided by 2, I want to do that. So I have a negative 2 plus or minus 1 root 2 all over 2. So this negative 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2, 1. 4 divided by 2, 2. So this is it. So I've got two answers. I've got a negative 2 plus 1 root 2 all over 2. And I got a negative 2 minus 1 root 2 all over 2. So I have the plus version and I have the negative version. And I don't need to write the ones here, but I'll just leave them in. So that is the simplified answer. Again, they're not nice numbers like 7 and 3 over 2 or whatever. They are just square root expressions. And most of our answers are actually going to be like that. It's really hard to make up questions that get whole numbers. Okay, last one. 3x squared minus 3 equals 6x. I'm going to move this 6x over by subtracting it. So I have a 3x squared, then I'll write the minus 6x, and then I'll write the minus 3, so now it equals 0. That's perfect. So my a value is 3, my b value is negative 6, and my c value is negative 3. So x equals my negative symbol, and then what is b? B is negative 6. So negative 6 plus or minus negative 6 squared, b squared, minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is negative 3, all over 2 times a, which is 3. So negative 6 is 6 plus or minus negative 6 squared is a positive 36 minus 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 3 is, 12 times negative 3 is negative 36. Okay, all over 2 times 3, which is 6. So this is not 36 minus 36 because it's actually going to be a plus sign. And you can tell that because over here there was 2 negative symbols. And so I'm going to get an addition. So I'm going to get 72, I believe. Surely we can reduce that. So let's off to the side. You put the square root of 72 and you break that down. Now that's 9 times 8. 9 is 3 times 3. 8 is 4 times 2. But this 4 can come down to a 2 and a 2. So that's a 3, that's a 3, and that's a 2. So I have a pair of 3s and a pair of 2s, which is 3 times 2 is 6. And anything left over, just a single 2. So this equals 6 plus or minus 6 square root 2 all over 6. So then you take a look at the outside numbers. Can they all be divided by something? Sure, they can all be divided by 6. So I'm going to get a 1 plus or minus 1 root 2 all over 1. Now you don't have to write over 1, so you can just write 1 plus or minus 1 root 2. So we've got this option, 1 plus 1 root 2. And then we've got the other option, 1 minus 1 root 2. I don't know why I wrote a minus sign there. So 1 plus 1 root 2, and you don't need this 1 here. You could just have 1 plus root 2 or 1 minus 1 root 2. And take a look at the notes for a little bit of a neater just writing there. So I've got D, E, and F here for you to pause and write down anything you need. We only had one example. All of these had just numbers here. So I'm just letting you know the inside was a number, 72, and we got 2 answers. Here was 8, a positive number. We got 2 answers. Here it was 37, so we got 2 answers. But when we got 0, where was that? When we got 0, we got 1 answer. Here was 121, positive number, 2 answers. 25, positive number, 2 answers. So whenever we get a positive number, we're going to get 2 answers, 2 answers, 2 answers, 2 answers, 2 answers. But when we get 0, we only got 1 answer. And if we get negative, I'm going to write that down right now. Say we got the square root of negative 121. Well, you can't take the square root of a negative number. Therefore, you would get no answers. So say I had 8 plus or minus the square root of negative 121 over 4. I can't take the square root of a negative number, so I have no answers. There's 0 solutions. So anyways, I'm going to zoom back here before I got off topic and just went rambling. Try to erase this mess. And we'll go on to the next section in the next video.